Good morning for those who are here with us. My name is Mark. I am here with ICLCA and our ICLCA partner webinars with Upswing. They're going to be talking about vital signs, taking the pulse of your learning center's impact. We'll get started here at the top of the hour at 12 noon. So I do want to make you aware of, let's see if my slide goes to the next screen. Give me a second here. What? There we go. Some of our upcoming paid ICLCA webinars that we have coming up soon. We have one on May 23rd, and then we'll have one on June 13th. Those will show back up here on the screen momentarily, and then we will go. So yeah, on June 13th, it's Learning Center Administration, Leading with Vision, and then on June 13th, it's Moving Beyond Referrals, Elevating Student Support for those with trauma-informed. So we'll get started again. Here momentarily. So there are some upcoming paid webinars from ICLCA if anyone would like to join those. Those will be on May 23rd and June 13th. So feel free to register for those if you would like. But today we're here with Upswing. They're going to be talking with us about vital signs, taking the pulse of your learning center's impact. We have Mr. Willie Barnes with us here, and he'll be joining us here in just a few minutes at the top of the hour. So yeah, just hang out with us and we'll start soon. And Lucas says he can hear us, so go ahead and that's good. Willie, if you don't mind, try your audio and make sure they can hear you.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Perfect. I got a thumbs up. And Mark, if you could, Simone said if you could send her another link, the one she has isn't cooperating.
Yeah, let's see if I can give us a link. It will just take me a moment to log into the go-to system because it is.
I think she's actually on her way in right now.
Okay. We'll see here. Yep, there she is. Let's go ahead and make her an organizer. Okay, so she should be in as an organizer now. So welcome to those who have just joined. My name is Mark. I'm here with ICLCA and the ICLCA partner webinars. Today we have Upswing with us here, and Mr. Willie Barnes from Upswing is going to be talking about vital signs for taking the pulse of your learning center's impact. We're going to get started here in just a moment. I do want to make you aware of a couple upcoming ICLCA paid webinars. So on May 23rd, we have Learning Center Administration Leading with Vision, and then on June 23rd, Elevating Student Support with Trauma-Informed Practices. You can always find more information out about those on iclca.world/webinars. If you'd like more information, feel free to go visit there. But I'm going to go ahead and it's 12 noon and turn it over to Willie and make him our presenter. So let's stop my presentation. Willie and make Willie the presenter. For those that are here, there is a question feature in the up in that you can ask. So if you have any questions as we go throughout the webinar, feel free to type those into the question feature. And we have Simone on the back end here with me from Upswing, and she will be either helping answer those or funnel those over to Willie as we have time throughout the webinar. So it's all yours, Willie.
Perfect. And I like it when we see the thumbs up and things of that sort. So again, if you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up. There we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, let's dive into it. I am Willie Barnes, and I want to say good morning, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. But today is about the health of, today is about you, right? Today is about the health of your learning centers. My objective during our time together today is to guide you in the reflection, to guide you in reflection so you can take the pulse of your learning center's impact. And so we all understand that budgets are tight. We all understand that expectations are immense and you're expected to do so much more with far less time and resources necessary to make it happen. And on top of that, right? The to-dos and the elevated expectations. You also must find a way to document everything, every activity that takes place in the learning centers to help justify needing, more funding. All of this can seem like an uphill battle, but it's a fight that you've committed to because of your purpose, because of your passion to provide students with the support that they need to thrive. At Upswing, we understand your hurdles and we're committed to supporting our partners and better understanding their impact so they can maintain the health of their learning centers. As we engage in our conversation today, we'll want to we'll actually walk through and talk through what we've learned through our partnerships with our learning centers. And we'll work to share how we think about and measure the vital signs of the impact of the students in the community on their students in their community. And so as we go through this presentation, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, like Mark said, please submit them via the Q&A chat, and my colleague Simone will either answer them for you or she'll notify me so I can answer them for you. But before we dive deep into this presentation, I want to ground us in a brief introduction about of myself and who Upswing is. And so I believe that college students embark on their academic journeys because they believe that they're creating a hope for a better future for themselves. However, for some of these students, life's as life starts to life, right? The weight of the adversity becomes larger than their belief of finishing what they started. So guess what? Stopouts and dropouts occur. It's because of this that I'm passionate about student persistence. Because if we can support students in the midst of their needs, we can help them persevere to completion and help them and support them in making their dreams become a reality. As part of the new partnerships team here at Upswing, I work with institutions who serve non-traditional students and those students who face barriers to engaging with traditional means of student support to ensure that the institution's resources that you're working so tirelessly to provide are positioned in a way so those students can easily engage with the support they need, no matter who they are, where they are, or when they need it. And so this passion of empowering students to persist align seamlessly with the mission of Upswing. And so a little bit about Upswing and how it was started. Upswing was founded in 2013 by our CEO and co-founder Melvin Hines. Melvin grew up in rural South Georgia, and at the time that he graduated high school, there was about 250 seniors in his senior class. Only about 60 of them graduated. To really paint a picture of this town that Melvin came from. Despite the odds, Melvin graduated, ended up going to college, and when he stepped foot on that campus, he realized that where he's from greatly underprepared him for navigating the higher education ecosystem. Upon completing college, Melvin ended up working and teaching at a HBCU, but from there, he realized that he wanted to make sure that students who come from a similar lived experience as him was able to easily engage with the support that they needed, no matter who they are, where they are, or when they needed help. Hence, He founded Upswing again in 2013. And so, because of this, over the years, the mission of ultimately positioning resources in a way that makes it easy for all students to engage, no matter who they are, where they are, or when they may need it. This mission creates a high tide for all students, right? Helping to remove barriers. And so, remove barriers for those students who oftentimes face the most barriers. And so, as you can see, over our time, over these 12 years that we've been serving our partner institutions, the students that we help to serve are also the students that you all are serving on a daily basis. You'll notice that these students are coming from household incomes under $30,000. They're working while they're in college. There's students who are coming from African American and Hispanic backgrounds. They're online students. They're adult learners. They're students from a diverse background. They're students from diverse backgrounds, and it's because of our mission that we're able to provide students with the holistic support they need to stay in school and graduate. No matter whether it's connecting them to academic support, non-academic support, whether that's mental health, connecting them with student success coaches, basic needs support, ultimately providing them with a virtual wraparound place to where they can easily engage with the support they need when they need it. As a result of creating a high tide for all students, especially those students who face barriers, we're proud to note that our student support ecosystem helps our partners retain an average of 78 additional students annually. This mission to create a high tide for all students by ensuring those students who face barriers to engaging with support can easily access the support they need when they need it so they can stay in school and graduate. This is the work that we do. And ultimately, it's about outcomes. And so now that we've grounded ourselves in this mission and our purpose, so you understand that we are truly in this fight of student persistence and retention with you, let's check the Learning Center's pulse to ensure your hard work is making the most impact, especially for those students who need you most. The first vital sign that we'll discuss is accessibility. How accessible is your learning center for all students, especially those who face barriers to walking into your learning center to get help? In order to understand and measure accessibility, we must first understand our students. We know that over the past decade, non-traditional student populations have been growing across the country. In fact, the majority of students who are enrolled in 2-year and 4-year institutions are not first-time full-time students. This means that many of the students your learning centers are seeking to serve are students who are doing school in the margins of their life, meaning they're working while in school, they're taking care of dependents, they're not living on campus. And from what we're hearing, they're not even coming to campus because, due to being enrolled in distance education classes. Not only that, the student population is far more diverse than it's ever been, right? With students speaking a variety of languages, having disabilities. This creates an environment in which our learning center leaders have to figure out how do we support all these students with limited time and resources. We understand this can be overwhelming at times. And when we start to think about, how we're providing it, what we're providing, how can we help all of these, everything we do fit for everyone? Our partners have dealt with that same challenge, right? One example I'll actually share with you today, is one of our partners in North Carolina, A&T. They've been a partner for ours for several years, and we're dealing with an access issue for their students. When they were checking the pulse of their learning center, they found that the majority of their students' tutoring needs existed outside of traditional business hours. So what they did is they used Upswing's wraparound student support ecosystem to provide support to students who, without barriers, giving students 24/7 access to the support they need to thrive. This means that anyone, no matter who they are or what time they needed support, could easily engage with the tutoring department to get the help they need when they need it. What North Carolina A&T found is that providing students with 24/7 access to their tutoring ecosystem More students were able to engage with the support, and this enhancement was able to actually account for them specifically retaining an additional 21 students and retaining over $75,000 in tuition. The director for tutoring and mentoring over there at North Carolina A&T, Amy Anderson, states that Upswing helps our students tremendously, mainly because of accessibility. It's hard to be available to students 24/7, but this tool allows us to provide that support that they need. The staff at Upswing are extremely helpful, and every time I needed assistance, they have been there with the solution. I would highly recommend this product. If you'd actually like more information about how Upswing enhanced support for North Carolina A&T's Learning Center, you can actually download the case study here by scanning the QR code that's on the screen. So the next vital sign we'll assess is, can your Learning Center efficiently and effectively provide you with the actionable data you need to not only make informed decisions, but to demonstrate the impact of the Learning Center to institutional leaders? Some of you may be thinking, check, right? Our data's perfect. We can see everything that's happening in our Learning Center to demonstrate our impact on student success. Some of you, however, may be thinking, we know we've got to support everyone, but tracking that information is extremely manual, and at times it's overwhelming, and we don't have the capacity to really assess it. If you're thinking your Learning Center's ability to track and assess your data is something that can improve, you're not alone. We hear this all the time. Our best advice is to ultimately to be proactive, right? Not reactive. By understanding, one, what you're doing now and where the gaps are. And so how can we do this? You can do this by looking at usage in terms of subjects, tutors, student and tutor feedback through surveys, and feedback through other departments like faculty. What are your students asking for? Where are they actually going to get help when they need it? How do they actually feel about the Learning Center? These are all questions to help us, again, get the pulse of our Learning Center. At Upswing, our tutor ecosystem allows for our partners to have easy access to this real-time data. And we receive and review this data with our partners on a regular basis. Our objective is for you to have the data insights you need to make decisions with confidence, and so you can effectively demonstrate your impact on student success. And so one of the insights that we actually found through assessing data with our partners is that there's a need for more support outside of traditional tutoring on their campus. So specifically in areas like budgeting and finance, time management, study skills, testing anxiety, career and resume support, math fundamentals, and writing fundamentals, to name a few, we understand that though students have a need to develop these soft skills, we understand that we're already doing the most, and we understand that doing new things when we're already doing the most with limited capacity can be hard. But we mentioned that the needs of today's students are different than the needs of students 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. And so at Upswing, to support our partners in meeting the needs of their students, we actually recently launched an online workshops for our partners. These online workshops are specifically for students to get information and help on these soft skills. The reason we reference this solution that we help our partners with is because we want to encourage you to understand the changing needs of your students and to think creatively about how your learning center can be the go-to resource for all students. The next vital sign we'll check today is engagement. We've all heard the old saying, if you build it, they'll come. But unfortunately, we know that's not entirely the case. In fact, it's the opposite for many of our learning centers today. especially when students aren't coming to campus like as much as they once did. Figuring out a way to increase engagement and usage is a key vital sign our learning centers must worry about and take measurement of. And on top of that, unfortunately, not knowing about student support services is one of the one of the symptoms that lead to students dropping out. And unfortunately, tutoring services, traditional support, and even library assistance are one of the top resources students are not aware of. This is a challenge, not just for admins, but also for students, because studies have shown that the students who know about the resources, the students who use the resources, are far more likely to stay in school. But the staggering fact is, only about 34% of students actually know about how the Learning Center is here to help to support them. And it's not just the tutoring center, right? It's not just the Learning Center or tutoring that students are not aware of. It's all the resources being available to the student, from advising to mental health, financial aid, and so on. And so I want to slow down a little bit. And I want us to actually picture a student, right? We're going to act as if we're this student. Let's say we're a non-traditional student who's rarely on campus, or let's say we're a new student who's unfamiliar with the higher education landscape. I want us to imagine these students being on their own little island in the middle of the higher education ocean. And in the midst of having a need or needing help, whether it's tutoring, mental health, advising, getting in touch with a success coach, I want us to imagine those resources, like tutoring, being its own island that the student must figure out how to navigate to. The question's not if you have the resources. We know you have the resources. And we know you are working tirelessly to provide these resources to students. But I want us to think about it. If a student is on their own island, navigating the challenges of their own life, and in the midst of navigating those challenges on their own island, with the resources that they need being on other islands, when they have a need, they have to figure out where to go to get the help. Then they have to figure out how to get there in the midst of navigating life, in the midst of maybe feeling overwhelmed. That's a really, really difficult task to ask for these students. And so through our partnerships, we find that institutions who have the highest ROI on student engagement, they do three things, right? Again, engagement is something that everybody deals with. And we understand that it's an uphill battle at times, but it's not a hopeless feat. And so the three things that we found that our partners do very well to increase engagement, specifically amongst their learning centers, is one, they get faculty buy-in. Faculty buy-in is the number one method we've heard from students and partners. We've got to ensure that faculty includes the learning center's information and how students can get tutoring support within their syllabi or LMS. It is imperative for faculty to talk with their students, whether it's via group setting or one-on-one capacity if available, about the tutoring that's available to them. Sometimes this may mean it's going to take some educating on your end to faculty to let them know about how the Learning Center works, right? It might be letting them know about the Learning Center's pedagogy, right? It might be, having them go through, teaching them about how you all go about doing assignment reviews and reviewing papers. This might be actually letting them try to service out themselves. But, and sometimes it could just be letting them know the nuts and bolts of how a student can actually request the support. But nonetheless, it's imperative that faculty get involved in order to help increase engagement within our learning centers. The second way we found that our partners get the most ROI on student engagement is they're going to where the students are. And I know this may sound obvious, right? But with resources being limited, we recommend doing things like in-person visits to specifically those classes that students struggle with the most. A good example of this may be a general chemistry class for nursing students. Or another place would be new student orientations. The third thing that we find that our partners do to really help increase engagement is one, they just spread the word. We like to say grassroots marketing is not dead. It's just become a little bit more advanced, right? But we've seen that them good old paper flyers they still work. So do emails. At Upswing though, our favorite is text messages. We know students are on their phone. They may not be checking their email all the time, but we know they're checking their text messages. And so at Upswing, we actually have a lot of partners who utilize our SMS virtual assistant and our tutoring ecosystem to provide accessible tutoring services while also increasing engagement. We have partners like Panola College, Blaine College, North Carolina A&T, and Bladen Community College, to just name a few, right, who use our SMS virtual assistant, Anna. So they use Anna to do things like sharing information about campus resources, like your Learning Center. And what we've actually found is that those mid-semester text message check-ins are a great time to go and check on students and, again, position the resources in a way to make sure that they know that where they can go to get help. But Anna also, our partners also utilize Anna to help remind students about important deadlines. But most importantly, Anna is there for when the students need help the most and are not able to maybe get in touch with the institution. And so Anna can actually answer students' questions at any time, right? And Anna can do things like refer them to the tutoring center, right? Anna can provide work notes of encouragement. Anna can provide them to that campus or community resource in the midst of their need. And because of Anna's ability to really be that virtual assistant in that student's pocket, Anna has actually shown to increase the likelihood of students graduating by almost 14%. Again, it's about outcomes. As we're checking the pulse of our learning centers, we have to understand that we check the pulse in these vital signs to ensure that we are leading to the outcomes of helping students stay in school and graduate. A little bit more about Anna. On average, Anna makes more than 200 referrals on behalf of our partners per month and actually gives administrators insight into each one of those referrals. And so as an information powerhouse, Anna can not only point students to the resources that they need when staff and admins may be unavailable, but Anna actually provides this data back to you so you know what students are asking for, how they feel about certain topics and resources, or even if there's immediate interventions that need to be had for students who are in distress academically, financially, or emotionally. Again, going back to from that data conversation about being proactive, not reactive. So if you actually like to learn a little bit more about Anna and how Anna is meeting the needs to increase engagement and helping provide students with the support they need when they need it, you can actually download our 2024 Anna Insights report by scanning the QR code that's on the screen. And what's awesome is this data is really powerful and arms us with the information that we need to again go to being proactive from reactive with our decision making capabilities. And just a side note, our 2025 on an insights report will be available and coming out later this summer. So please be on the lookout for that. And so we've actually gone through our health check fairly quickly, but I'm going to ground us here so we can really kind of put it all together. And so we've had our checkup and we've discussed the vital signs of our learning centers: accessibility, actionable data, engagement. And so as we look at our checklist for our checkup, let's first, and you can screenshot this, whatever works best for you. But as we look at our checklist, do we understand who our students are? And not just their demographics. This is really a day in the life exercise, thinking about the obstacles that are and challenges that our students face on a day-to-day basis that make it difficult for them to walk into our learning center. Do we know what those challenges are? Next, can anybody access the support within our learning centers when they need it? Again, for those students who are not going to be there in person, can they engage online if need be? Do they have the ability to engage with our learning centers when they need the help the most? And again, when they need that help may not be when tutors are in the office. The third thing, the third thing on our checklist, can you analyze your data and spot the trends to help you plan, budget, adjust, and show the impact you're making within your learning center? For example, are we offering support in subjects that students say they need and want? Do we know? And last but certainly not the least, can we reach students where they are and tell them about the services that you offer? Is faculty involved? Are we getting out there and meeting students where they are in those first year classes, right? In those classes that students have shown to struggle with the most? This is our checklist. And as we go through this checklist, I want us to make a mental note of the areas where, you know what? Yes, check that off. Easy. We got that. What are the areas where, you know what? I'm not sure if we're doing that all the way how we need to be doing it to really demonstrate our impact and reach the students we know are falling through the cracks. I want you to make a mental note of that. Before we close and before we go, I'm going to pause. And I want to take a moment to answer some questions before we close out because it did seem like we went through this fairly quickly. We're going to get some time back on our calendars today. But before we go, what questions do you all have for me as it relates to your checkup and your checklist and the vital signs within your learning center? I see I don't know if that's a hand that it looks like a hand was raised, but I'm not able to.
I'll turn their audio on. Give me just a second, will it?
Okay.
If I can remember who it was. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Oh, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sweet. Hi, Willie. Thanks for your presentation today. My name's Jackson. I work at Washington State University, and I have a question about how we can utilize the tutoring team that we have to sort of assess and measure these vitals. We have what are called lead tutors in our program, and they are folks who take on a little bit more responsibility. They get a little bit of a pay raise, and they have some additional responsibilities. So I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for how to factor in measuring these vital signs through that lead tutor program, because I'm the only person that is sort of coordinating the program. So pinging them where I can is really, really useful. So if you have any recommendations there, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely, Jackson. Thank you for asking your question. And so at Upswing, what we do is we want to make sure that we amplify the teams that you have on campus, right? And the way that we do that, it's about those teams being able to have access and see pretty much everything that's happening within the learning center. Because once they're able to have oversight and really be able to see the data within the learning center, now they're able to really you're able to delegate these tasks and responsibilities for them to see, okay, where are we doing well? Where can we improve? And so, what I would recommend is one, making sure that your lead tutors are able to see all the data that's happening within your learning centers. And so at Upswing, what we do is, of course, we are able to provide really comprehensive data. And so you're able to have what's called admin light profiles, to where you have the main admin who's able to see everything, but then you could assign admin light profiles to allow for certain people to only see what you want them to see. And so really empowering them with the data so they can assess that data to be able to answer, again, the questions that we have here on the checklist to see how effective the Learning Center is at meeting the needs of students. Did that answer your question, Jackson?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thanks again for asking. I got some questions here in the chat. Which subjects do Upswing coaches get the most requests for? So we find, I'm going to answer this two different ways. The first place is we we understand that the students who oftentimes need the most help are those returning students, right? The non-traditional students. And so the 0 to 60 credits, right? The basic things like basic math, those initial courses that students need help with because they're just now stepping back into the higher education landscape. One, those are courses, those are subjects that students really need help with because again, they're just now starting to get their feet back into higher education. The second way I'll answer that is that when talking to partners, we're actually finding that our nursing students are the ones who are really maximizing the opportunity with the Upswing tutor ecosystem because we know that these nursing programs aren't easy, right? Our nursing students, um, oftentimes can be non-traditional, but nonetheless, they're the ones who are really maximizing the opportunity to get that supplemental help with Upswing tutors. And so I would say those entry-level classes, and then those entry-level classes where students are getting back into the swing of engaging with higher education. And then we're seeing a ton of nursing. We're seeing nursing really take using the platform and ecosystem to the next level. Um, so that was that. We have another question here. What is the average number of in-house learning center staff at your key partner institutions like North Carolina A&T? That's a good question because they absolutely vary by partner. Again, let's say you're meeting with some, um, we work with a lot of community colleges who, they may have 3 people in the learning center, right? And they need Upswing to really help provide that supplemental support in that learning center. They may not have any nursing tutors, again, to use that as an example, um, or one nursing tutor that's having to tutor a variety of different um, students and locations. So on one end, you've got one end to where it's very little. And then on another end, you can have some that have fairly robust, learning centers, where and they utilize Upswing to help really take control of their tutor ecosystem so they can to really help manage that operation and be able to see any and everything that that tutor center is doing. And so for me to give you an average number, I would be making something up, and I don't want to do that. But to answer your question, to kind of give you a low and a high, we've got anything from very little tutoring support with on the on-campus learning centers, and hence they will need Upswing for things like 24/7 support. And then you have some institutions who have very robust on-campus learning centers, on-campus tutors, and they'll utilize Upswing for, of course, that 24/7 professional tutoring, but also to help manage their tutor operations so they're in control of their operation and can see everything data-wise that's happening while positioning their learning center to, I like to say, remove the walls, right? So students can engage with their learning center no matter who they are, when they are, or where they are. They can be able to go in and engage the learning center and get help and have that that one-on-one feel and support. So I hope that answers your question. I'm not able to see the names who asked these questions, so hope you're able to see that. Um, I hope I answered your question. Do you conduct AI workshops? Great question. So the workshops that we do are always evolving. I don't I don't recall one of the workshops, and Simone, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't recall one of the recent workshops being AI. However, if that is something that, we listen to our partners all the time, and they really, because of the data, and the needs of the students, if that's something that you all feel can be beneficial to your students, please let us know. And I'm sure, again, I'll take that back to the team, and that's something that we can figure out. But at this time, I don't recall seeing an AI workshop, AI student workshop um, in the past, but that doesn't mean it's not something that we're not able to do in the future, because we're always listening to the needs of our partners to make sure their students have what they need. Any other questions?
Willie, it looks like there's one more here that says, I'd also be interested in what skill modules do you find students are viewing the most?
Great question. What skill modules are students viewing the most? I would say, I'm going to answer this a couple of different ways as well. Writing support is absolutely um, a thing that we find students need help with. And one that also I think that Campus Institute, our partners appreciate, is because they want to help here, but maybe don't always have the capacity to do so, is resume support and feedback. And so I would say, and that kind of also leans into writing, right? And so resume support, writing, improving writing skills, and um, resume support, improving writing skills, and study skills. We'll add that as well, because again, that's not a typical class that students get help with, right? So those are those soft skills that students would be able to that are finding very valuable, that may not be readily available on campus due to having more to-dos than hours in a day, and something that we find our partners appreciate as well as students. What else? All right. I try to be hesitant in my moving forward because I paused the first time for a good amount of time and some questions started to roll in, right? So to close us, I will note, I first, Mark, I want to thank you. I want to thank the ICLCA team for organizing this conversation. Our goal here is to continue the conversation, right? If you weren't able to check off one of the boxes on that health checklist, let's talk about it, right? We love to learn more about your experience. We love to learn more about, what you all have going on, and discuss if and how Upswing can help you feel more confident in your decision making and the health of your learning center. And so to coordinate that conversation, you can actually scan the QR code here on the screen, and that will take you to a page where you can coordinate that conversation and a demo with Upswing. But we're thankful for you all. Thank you for your time. We look forward to connecting with you.
Yes, I want to thank Willie and Upswing for putting on this webinar today. Their support goes a long way to ICLCA. So you should get a survey at the end when you close out. Feel free to fill that out. Let us know what you think. Uh, they will also be getting a copy of your registration information, and we'll be sending out a copy of this video to you as well for everyone who attended. So again, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.